All right, so this week we're doing something a little bit different. We've been talking a lot about specific programs or guidelines, or how you can navigate different things, and just making you aware of programs or guidelines, things of that nature. FHA, VA, zero down, non-QM, DSCR, etc. This week, the topic is 5, and quite honestly, it's going to be more than that. But 5 ways that you can generate exponentially more leads from every listing or open house. And if you don't have any listings or opportunities for open house, I'm going to address that as well, where you can find some to borrow, and how I've been doing that in my business very recently, like this week. So we'll address that, and then the approaches, or what we're going to share. Some of it is mortgage or financing specific, but there's other, there are other things that we'll share that have nothing to do with the mortgage or financing side. So just, this isn't solely self-serving for us, on the mortgage and financing perspective. But what I will say is, what we are finding over and over and over again as we get into our partners' CRMs and are mining their CRMs to find gold, is that creating conversation opportunities around the financing is a wonderful way to identify the low-hanging fruit in your CRM. In other words, when someone is responsive to mortgage or a financing related question, they are much more likely, or much farther along the pipeline or down the funnel, because for most folks, the financing is a necessary evil, right? It's not what they're excited about, right? It's not like they wake up in the morning and like, I can't wait to get pre-approved, right? No, what they're excited about is
bathrooms,
a home for them to trade up into, or buying a new home, right? Or whatever, right? Like, that's the exciting part. The financing, in most cases, is the means to an end, right? It's the thing that they have to kind of grit their way through to get the thing that they really want, right? There's that analogy, right? Like, nobody wants a drill; they just want the hole in the wall, right? It's not like, they want the end result, and this is just a necessary evil. Anyway, enough on that front. Why don't I'm gonna start, Jordan, just for folks that don't have any listings right now, or don't have any opportunities for open house. I just want to cover some of the ways that they may address that to give them the opportunity or opportunities to then leverage some of these strategies. So number 1, I'm with EXP. I've got a local team here, and I've got a sales organization all throughout the US, not in all 50 states, but a bunch of states. EXP in Pennsylvania, we have an open listing policy. I'm not sure that I'm using the right word there, but essentially what it means is any EXP listing, we an EXP agent, can promote or advertise that listing. Okay, so you may be at an office or a brokerage where that is the case. So that would be, number 1, an opportunity for you to leverage listings. Number 2, earlier today on the Wake Up Real Estate Show, and even on our mastermind huddle at 11 after the show, I shared how I am using Facebook Marketplace to generate leads. And most of the listings I'm using there are builder listings, new construction listings, of which I've gotten written consent from the builder to advertise or market their listings. So just ask, hey, and I can even give you the, here's what I'm going to do with the replay of this. I'm going to pull together, we have a number of resources as far as marketing listings and open houses, et cetera. I'm going to pull all that together and include it with you, including the script that I've used to borrow listings, which is basically, hey, Jordan, would it be okay if we market some of your new home listings or advertise some of your new home listings on our social media? I mean, what the worst they can say is no. And most of you have enough different builders that you could go to get permission, right? Other quick and easy other ways, you can reach out to for sale by owners and get their permission to market the listings. Depending on your broker, et cetera, you might have to get them to sign a little marketing agreement. You can, that, who knows, that may turn into a listing opportunity for you, but you could borrow those. Pete asked, do you ask the builder or the agent? I start with whoever the contact is in the MLS listing. Whoever it says in the remarks to contact, like for at least in Bright, and I know you're in Bright too, most of the time the builders under the agent remarks, it will say, contact so-and-so, right? And so that's where I start. And at least one of them so far, that person replied and looped in the person that needed to be looped in to give the permission. But that's where I would start. And then, the other thing is you could just go to other agents' listings, even if they're not in your brokerage, and just ask for permission. And I will say that depending on your market, you get more compliance some places than others, or more agreeable some places than others. And honestly, I also have spoken with agents that their entire MLS has an open listing policy, whether you like it or not. One other way, HUDhomestore.com. If your broker is a licensed HUD agent, you can advertise HUD listings. You can't, well, with any of these, you can't say that you're the listing agent if you're not. Okay, I was looking for a fancier word than that, but like obviously you can't portray that they are you have to provide the appropriate attribution, right, of who the listing agent is. Okay, so with all of that said, let's dive into some of the strategies or ways that you can be generating more leads from each and every listing, or if you're able to secure an open house, right? So you could go and reach out and ask an agent in your brokerage, hey, would it be okay if I held an open house on your listing, whatever. So what are some of those strategies? And let's start, Jordan, with the mortgage or financing perspective. Let's be self-serving here a little bit.
Well, the first one, it's not gonna be super self-serving because we can't do the loans on them, but it is something that we want to make clear that you can do in your business every day, and that's assumable loans. Someone asked me about that recently, and to provide some context around this, and I thought, oh, what a great way. It's not really a full class by any means, just because we don't do them specifically. But it's definitely one that we should talk about because it is a benefit to agents, right?
Yeah.
The assumable loans essentially is where someone will come in and take over the loan. So let's say you have a listing, Josh, and you have a client with a 2.75% interest rate. You can sell that house based off that interest rate. So if it's a VA, USDA, or an FHA loan, it doesn't work with conventional, but we've had a long string of I want to call them good years on interest rates. So the likelihood of your listing to have a lower interest rate is very high. Now, these clients, these prospective clients, have to buy out on the terms of the loan currently. They have to qualify with the servicing bank. So whatever bank that's with. So let's say the servicer is Bank of America, right? We'll have to go to Bank of America to reapply and qualify and buy out their equity, essentially. So if they're wanting to sell it based off of market value, typically if it's a house that was bought 6 years ago, and especially with values the way they've gone in the last few years, most likely that's going to be a pretty large down payment. But if you have a client with high amount of cash, or if you have a listing that is willing to promote it that way, it at least is going to attract someone. Hey, you could possibly get a 2.75% interest rate on this. That is true. But at the end of the day, do they have the cash to buy it out? They might not, but now you have a lead in your hand that is a potential buyer that you can talk to and maybe try to find them a house, with that, or get them pre-approved with your lender,
Yep.
that would be number one for me. That would probably be the easiest.
And I'll give you a real world example of this. Ryan, he's not here today. He had a conflict. He recently bought a house in Pennsylvania, and I was the buyer representative. And that was they were offering an assumable loan in that scenario, and very similar, like it was a 2.75 or 2.85. For several reasons, and that didn't work out. Like he didn't end up doing that. But you know, I thought it was a great job by the agent to at least make that
promote it.
Promote
I
that.
mean,
Now he was promoting it in the agent remarks. I would have gotten permission. I would have put that in the listing remarks, like the public remarks, and I would have included that in any marketing with it.
In bold.
As, right. Something or all caps, right? So like in agent remarks, you can't necessarily bold things, or I'm sorry, in public remarks you can't, but you could put it in all caps. You could put asterisks on either side and just say, you know, don't forget to ask me about how you can assume the existing financing at 2.75%, right? It's not saying you have to word it in such a way that it's not a guarantee or anything like that, right? That but using that as a conversation starter is going to generate you more leads, more conversations, more opportunities. So that would be number one. So what else from the mortgage or financing perspective?
You should always look and see if your house is in a USDA zone. This happens a lot where I'll have someone come to me and get pre-approved for a specific house as a I don't want to say a good mortgage lender, but if you're working with a good mortgage lender, that's the first thing I look up. Is if I'm making an offer on a home, whether it's a maybe I had them pre-approved FHA, I always will pull up my toolkit or the lookup tool that USDA has and just see if it's in the zone. It's 0% down financing. We've saved them money. The mortgage insurance is cheaper, and there are streamlines on it, USDA's, as well as there's 0% down. They're easier to qualify for typically.
Yep. Now,
with that being said, you're not going to want to offer this to a client. From my perspective, I won't offer this to a single person, in an area where the max income limit's $40,000, right? And they make 80. But it is something you can promote on your listing if it is in a USDA zone to bring people to you that are looking for 0% down financing. It is something that you could say that this home is in a USDA zone and eligible. It's a great way to bring in more leads.
Yep. Again, include that in your listing remarks and any marketing that you're doing. And depending on your MLS, you can actually, this won't necessarily generate you more leads, but I would include this if it fits. Most of them will have where you can choose that it qualifies for USDA financing, right? There's a little toggle switch mostly. But I would, and in the the listing remarks, I would include that the home qualifies or the home is in an approved USDA zone, and highlight the fact that is, that means it's potentially that zero down financing is potentially available on the home, something along those lines.
Okay, I want to take it one step back here because I forgot about it on assuming on home loans. For VA home loans, you do not have to be a veteran to assume it.
Oh yeah, that's a great point. Say that again.
So on VA homes specifically, so let's say Peter has a listing, right? And it's it's a veteran, right? It's a veteran that had a 2.75% interest rate. Someone can come in and assume that mortgage, no matter what. They don't have to be in military service. Yeah, so they can get there. There's a way for people to get it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great.
To assume that loan. It's a little caveat for VA that people don't really know. Like it completely slipped my mind when we first talked about it. So I wanted to take a quick step back.
Awesome. What else we got, Jordan, on this side of things?
So another thing that I would market it to would be you could do lender concessions, seller concessions, different types of concessions. I see that a common home buy hero programs, grants, DPAs. I mean, I could go all day what you could do and get with a lender and find out what you could offer on a specific property. But at the end of the day, it's getting with that lender and looking up those ideas and having those ideas. The two first off the top of my head would be assumable loans, USDA. That's really very vague, so it keeps you out of a compliance, kind of nightmare.
Yeah.
But if it's in like a median tract zone for a DPA program, right? There are DPAs out there that don't care about income, or if you're a first-time home buyer, if you're in a certain area, right? A certain bordered area, you can talk to a lender and they can look up those areas for you on your listing, and you could promote that, right? It just depends on what where the listing is sitting at and how we're going to want to market it, because we want to make sure we stay compliant as well.
Of course, always. So if you're going to explore any of those specifically, you might want to talk with Jordan or Dana on our team first, or if you have a preferred lender that you do a lot of business with, just make sure that you do it in a compliant way. But that can be a great way. Again, even if you did nothing else other than add something curiosity creating in the public remarks, it will increase the number of potential leads that reach out through, maybe they see it on Zillow or Trulia or homes.com or whatever, like wherever they're looking at listings. It will increase the likelihood that they may reach out to you, and then you can either refer that to one of your buyer agents, or you could potentially end up with dual agency, right, and double end the transaction. So Tanya asked for a clarification going back to the VA, but that VA seller cannot get another VA loan on his next home. Can you clarify how that works? So in other words, a non-VA buyer assumes this VA loan. How does that affect the original VA borrower if they want to still use their VA benefits?
Yeah. First, there is a way to release to completely release the benefits, right? There is a step for it. You want to do the step on all some assumed loans, right? So you're going to want to talk to a mortgage lien holder and the seller, because a lot of times I've seen it where someone does assume a loan, they take over the payments, they add them, they qualify them, but they don't fully release everything. And then if that person goes into foreclosure, so does the person that let the assumable go through. So there is a process with that. Like there's a little more detail on there. Now, with that being said, you can't have multiple VA home loans. I go back to where we had another info session about VA home loans. It's not one and done, right? That's not how VA home loans work. You could have multiple as long as you have enough entitlement, right? You'll dip into bonus entitlement. That second VA home loan needs to be over $144,000. So even if they came back and said, hey, you can't qualify for another VA home loan, you do have bonus entitlement you can dip into depending on how big a house you bought the first time, right? That is something that you can look at, but typically most home loans are an average of 275 probably in the country. You're not going to even come close to maxing out that entitlement. So, but yeah, you can have multiple VAs.
Session on VA a few weeks ago. You can find the recording on the Wake Up Real Estate YouTube channel. We have it on the site at wakeup.realestate as well. And if you can't find it, just reach out to me and I'll send you the link for it. I'll probably even, as we're going through here, find the link and put that in the chat as well. Adele, if the mortgage on my listing can be assumed, do I have to go through the loan holder?
Correct. Yep. You do. So that one is not really, so you'll never call me on that one, right? To try to do that. I can answer some questions, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to they're going to have to try and apply through the servicer themselves.
She then added, what exactly can we say in the public finance remarks about financing, special financing, et cetera? So you just have to be careful there. This is not legal advice, right? Neither Jordan or I are real estate brokers, right? We're not on the real estate broker side. I'm a licensed agent and a licensed mortgage originator. Special financing is a great sort of catch-all that we know works well. this home qualifies for special USDA financing. Reach out to the agent to find out more. Even some MLSs, you have to be careful about how you include calls to action in your listing remarks. You just can't say anything that would imply that anyone could qualify for it, right? So you just have to make it, sort of generic enough that it doesn't imply that, but also, curiosity creating enough to get some engagement, right? So if home qualifies for USDA,
I'll give you a quick example. When you're assuming a loan, it's at a specific interest rate. Everyone would get that interest rate no matter who assumed the loan, right?
Right.
So,
right.
Do you do Shinoa DPAs? Yes, we do. It depends on the state, but yes.
Okay.
That was a question that was asked as well.
Yep. Anything else from the mortgage or financing specific side of things as it relates to leveraging listings or open houses?
Perfect.
Jordan, you, sorry.
Perfect.
What's that? Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pivot, and I'm going to be sharing. I will share this checklist with everyone as part of the recording as well. So this is a digital marketing checklist for an open house, and you could potentially leverage a lot of this for just a general listing as well. But this works better as an event promotion, which, by the way, it doesn't even have to be like an open, big public open house. One of the strategies I used to do, this is years ago, is I would get permission from, this is when there were a lot more foreclosures, but I would get permission from the listing agent on a foreclosure to hold a private open house. And I would only invite my database. So I would hold a private open house Thursday night from 5 to 6, or Thursday night from 6 to 7, or whatever, which was basically just a mass showing. Okay. So you don't have to hog up your whole day. It doesn't even have to be on the weekend. Hey, could I, and honestly, you could just, I would probably get permission from the listing agent to do this, but honestly, if you can just block out a showing time of an hour, on whether they're using showing time or however they're doing that, you could leverage this concept there. So anyway, Facebook events. Okay. Facebook events, great place to promote open houses or similar events. LinkedIn events, Eventbrite. Here's a big one. This one is actually huge. So please, if you're doing any open houses or thinking about doing any open houses, you've got to leverage this concept. If you go on to Nextdoor, you can add an event, have it be an open house, and part of that adding the event, you put in the address of the house. Nextdoor automatically identifies, now this won't work in super rural areas, but if it's in a neighborhood of some kind, it will identify the number of users, Nextdoor users that live in that neighborhood. And you can invite those Nextdoor users to the open house. I've done this 2 or 3 times recently. And when I've hit that, it'll pop up and say, would you like to invite the 272 Nextdoor homeowners that live in the neighborhood to the open house? Okay. It's free. It costs nothing. Right. And I've had people comment in Nextdoor asking questions, what's the list price, or, one asked something about, they had a friend that was thinking about moving into the neighborhood, something along those lines. That is a great free strategy. And what's great about neighbors that come to your open house, right? A lot of times it's because they're thinking about selling, right? So that could turn into more listing opportunities for you, even if it wasn't your listing that you're doing the open house on. You're the one that's holding the open house, but they come, you build the relationship and the rapport, et cetera. Okay. Create a short form video, 30 seconds or less, to invite to the open house or to announce the listing, right? Or to share some information about the listing. And then you can post that on your Google business listing, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube Shorts, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. And oh, by the way, if one of the ideas that Jordan shared fits that house, include that in your video. Hey, oh, by the way, this home is situated in an area that qualifies for 100% USDA financing. If you'd like more information, call or text me at the number that's, below here or in the comments, and I'd be happy to help point you in the right direction, right? So use these ideas in as many ways possible. And by the way, I skipped the first one. I forgot even. If you're doing an event, many folks don't know this, but hopefully all of you have your own Google business listing. For example, if you go Google Josh Schoenly EXP Realty, my Google business listing will show up there. Hopefully all of you have that. And if not, reach out to me and I'll get you access. We've got some training and tutorials on how to build out your listing and then how to optimize, etc. And honestly, a lot of it we've just sort of what's the word I'm looking for? We've kind of just pulled bits and pieces from other training and kind of mashed it all up together. But you can add events to your Google business listing. So whether the event is an open house or it's a listing that just it's just listed, or a coming soon, like that could be an event. Or client events, things of that nature. Or maybe you're doing webinars or home buyer seminars or home seller seminars. That's a great way to get some extra exposure and to keep your Google business listing current, right? Anyway, back to where we were. Short form video, syndicated everywhere that you have social accounts. Craigslist posts. Yes, Craigslist can still work in this day and age. Okay. Are you going to get a ton of leads from Craigslist? Probably not. Can you get some? Yes. And in fact, I've sold properties in the last few years, several of them, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 of them, to people that responded through Craigslist. Okay. Again, you're not going to get a ton, but it's free. So who cares? Along these lines, I don't even know, do I have it in here? I don't even have Facebook Marketplace in here, but Facebook Marketplace, I probably don't, because I had been banned from Facebook Marketplace for several years for breaking their terms of service. And I kept requesting reinstatement, and finally they let me back in. So I started using it again recently. And actually I shared earlier today, I'm now up to 31 leads for free since yesterday morning through Facebook Marketplace. But you can add the listing there, and there's a place to add an open house. So if you're leveraging a listing, your own or someone else's, and you're going to do an open house, you can get free exposure there. So you can add it to Facebook Marketplace, and then you can even share it to Facebook groups, which will get you a lot more traction, etc. And again, as with all of this, if you're going to layer on any of the strategies that Jordan identified, right? Finding what programs or special financing options this property may fit, it gives people just another reason to reach out to you, to message you through Facebook, or to call or text the number on your Craigslist post, or whatever the case may be, whatever the channel may be, it gives them just another reason to reach out to you. And then just normal organic Facebook posts. You could also do a live video when you arrive there, or as you're getting ready to hold the open. And then just some notes here. We kind of covered a number of these things in here. And then some other thoughts on marketing pieces, depending on how much notice you have. We've had a ton of success of sending out postcards through thanks.io announcing either a just listed or an open house. All of these strategies, everything we covered here, there is short video tutorials. I'll drop this link in the chat, and then I'll also include this in the replay for anyone who is interested. So obviously we promised 5. I think we over-delivered on that in a number of different ways. But why don't let's pivot to questions, comments, thoughts, or ideas And what did we miss on this? What are you doing that you're seeing success with promoting listings or open houses? And Peter says Josh is the longest serving inmate in Facebook Marketplace jail. Hey, listen, I got parole. They gave me parole, so I'm out. And like I said, it's been wonderful because I've literally 31, I think, is at last count how many free leads I've generated since yesterday morning. So I'm excited. Camille says, me too, I'm still banned. Keep every couple months. And the way I think I did it is on the Facebook app, I would click on Marketplace and it would say, sorry, you're banned. You can request reinstatement. And so every couple months I would request, and they kept saying no. And then finally, I don't know, I got somebody that was in a good mood that day, and they let me out on parole. One other thing I'll mention as we're waiting, and feel free to open up your line if you have a question or want to add, what's working for you on the listing side. Ryan and the team at thanks.io, they've been working on this for a while, but they have, if you've got your own listings, this is more specific for anytime you get a listing. They've built an engine, a just listed, just sold engine, essentially, that you just put in your listing address and your budget or the number of mail pieces, I think, and it takes care of all of it. The last just sold postcard that I sent, I got like a 7% scan rate. So 7% of the people that got a little postcard like this scanned the QR code. That's a lot of people for me to follow up with and follow through and turn into potential listings. Isabel, can you create an event on Nextdoor if the listing is located in a different county that you live in? As far as I know, yes. What I can tell you with certainty, I'm trying to think if I've promoted one outside of the county. I don't know that I've promoted one outside of the county that I live in, but I have promoted several that aren't in the neighborhood that I live in. And that was not an issue. So I would imagine it would still work outside of the county. I can't see any reason why it would not. Any other questions, comments, thoughts, or ideas as it relates to this? What's working for you? Going once, going twice. All right. Well, then there's nothing for sale on these ever. But I do want to kind of pat our team on the back a little bit. Yesterday alone, working with folks like yourself and helping to mine our partners' databases and CRM, Jordan and our mortgage team sent 13 applications yesterday. That's folks that expressed an interest in getting pre-approved to buy a home. And that is coming from the work that we're doing in folks' CRMs to directly generate appointments, and also just from general follow-up with folks that had kind of raised their hand and expressed an interest or filled out a longer form sort of survey or lead form. So if that's something that you would be interested in exploring or getting more information or learning more about how we're doing that, you can just reach out to me. You can call, text, or email me, or you can schedule a time at josh15.com. And if you have any specific scenarios or situations, or just have some questions about guidelines or anything like that, I'm putting Jordan's direct contact info in the chat as well, and I'll put my cell phone and my Calendly link down here as well. Yeah, Jordan, anything else to add? I think we
no, just
we
if
sufficiently
they
covered it.
have if they have questions on a list, if you have a listing and you want to see what programs they qualify for, I'd definitely ask the client and ask us, and I can give you the lookup tool. Actually, we'll drop that for USDA. That's an easy one.
Yep. And I will send out the replay of this session with the resources mentioned. And I'll also include in there a link to the YouTube playlist that we have that has all of these sessions. Like this is, I don't know, 6th, 7th, 8th one that we've done at this point. We've talked about VA. We've talked about FHA. We've talked about other zero down options. We've talked about non-QM and DSCR. And I'm forgetting, I'm losing track now, but we've talked about a number of different things. And the objective in doing this is to alert you to get your reticular activating system going so you can find more opportunities to help more clients in your market, right? Yes, we'd love the opportunity to try and help those clients, but if nothing else, we just want to make you aware of what's possible. Because let's face it, it's rough going right now. There's not a ton of listings, you know, and you know, it's not, it's a survive and advance kind of market right now. And so we're trying to give you as many tools and opportunities for you to survive and thrive. But if nothing else, just to survive this storm. Because at some point we'll come out the other side and we'll get back to a more normal market. All right, Jordan dropped that link, that USDA link, where you can just pop in an address to see if
I did. It's in there.
Yep. You should do that on any listing. It doesn't hurt to find out, right? Because then you that's another opportunity to open up conversations and create curiosity. Awesome. Thank you, Jordan. Thanks everybody for spending some time on a Wednesday. I don't know what our next Wednesday topic will be yet. As soon as we know, we'll let everybody know on that. And if anybody has any ideas on, you know, or
this spurred from an idea, actually. This class spurred from an idea. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Asked me about assumable loans, and I was like, not really a class, you know, but we could morph into something.
Weave it into something else. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Awesome. Great stuff. Hope you all have a great rest of the week, and hopefully chat real soon.